Hello, Nix here. Welcome to another Legacy video. Today I'm gonna show you a league with Black Red Reanimator. I played this league yesterday night, but it was a noisy night and I couldn't comment my gameplay basically, so I had to mute my microphone. And yeah, I will show you the replay basically, and I will comment the game choices I made. The list is basically the same. I changed the Tutsis, the one of Tutsis in my sideboard into a Chancellor of the Annex, just to add some 8 against Storm decks. Maybe you could play, I don't know, Sire of Insanity instead, but yeah, Chancellor is also nice to have against all spell, basically. So yeah, the rest of the same. So yeah, I will see you in the games. Okay, so here we are on VLC, which is a video media player program. Since I had that problem with my microphone, I decided to record the league without sound and then comment my gameplays after, as I'm doing right now. I hope this doesn't bother you, but at least I can stop the video and analyze better my game decisions, like keep and mulligan and some other plays. So yeah, let's analyze this hand. Usually on the Magic Online, you can type your opponent's name in Google, follow up with MTGO, and if they made some result, you will basically see them on MTG Goldfish's website, so you can predict what your opponent is playing. I usually don't do that because I like to play as I am in a game shop, you know, like you are in a paper tournament. You can't do that, so I like to play in that way without knowing what my opponent is playing. But you know, when you play a lot on Magic Online, you see their names and you can remember what they did play last time. So that's like playing in a game shop basically. You just see the same face of your opponent and remember, oh, this guy play I don't know, a depths deck. So that's basically the same. So yeah, here on the blind I opened with this 7 hands card, which is not a bad hand, honestly. I have basically a Griff to attack their hand and see what my opponent is playing, maybe take their Force of Will, stuff like that. I also have a fetch land, which is a red mana for this Fatal Looting, and also a Reanimate to get a Griselbrand from my graveyard into the field. So we have an enabler, a reanimation spell, a creature to put in the graveyard with this enabler, so, and also a discard spell to disrupt my opponent's hand. So this is a very nice hand, and yeah, since I didn't know what my opponent is playing, this is just a good hand to keep. So yeah, I decided to keep this hand. And yeah, since I am on the draw, I can also go on discard if I want. Discard Griselbrand. Basically, you can go on discard if your opponent is playing a blue deck. You know, they play a lot of counterspell and stuff like that, so you can just take your time. They basically don't have lethal threats or fast turn to kill you, so you can just go on discard and take your time. Just find more discard spell to attack their counterspell, and once they have no more Force of Will in their hand, you can just go reanimate your creature and go off with that. So that's also a good side of being on the draw sometimes with this deck. So here my opponent is deciding what 6 cards they want to have. They mulligan to 6 in fact, and I go with Swamp Toadsies. They are not a blue deck. Swamp Toadsies could mean mono black control. It could also be Storm. You know, it is very good to understand immediately what your opponent is playing just by seeing their land and first play. You can predict what your opponent is playing, and once you understand the deck your opponent is using, you can follow up with your strategy. So yeah, here they go with Swamp Toadsies. They will probably take my Reanimation spell, but yeah, also Faithless Looting is a good pick here, since I have double Griselbrand in hand. Looting can just draw me another Reanimation spell. I think I would have taken Reanimate anyway here, if I was in my opponent's shoes, but they decided to go with Faithless Looting, which I can just flashback, honestly. So yeah, it's like I still have it in hand, but it cost me 3 mana instead of 1. So yeah, here I follow up with a Griff, and my opponent show a Pox hand. So yeah, let's take a small Pox here. Him to Turach also is a little bit annoying. It can take my double Reanimation spell, so here I decided to just go with the Griff and take their Him to Turach also. You know, I've been very unlucky with Him to Turach, but my opponent always hit the best 2 cards in my hand. So yeah, I decided to drop a Reanimate here and take their Him to Turach also. So I leave them with just Ancient Tomb and Mishra Factory in their hand, and I can start attacking them with Griff. Here I draw another Reanimation spell, which is very nice. So Him to Turach can hit a Griselbrand and a Reanimation spell. And I still have a Reanimation spell for Griselbrand. Another Reanimation spell. You know, more Reanimation spells are always good against the discard spells deck. And they go with Lillian of the Veil. Yeah, a very nice Edict effect. Here they will go with -2, and I have to sacrifice my Griff basically. But with all those Reanimation spell, that's fine. Okay, here I top deck Faithless Looting and decided to go for it, but yeah, I wanted to go Faithless Looting, discard the Griselbrand and reanimate it. I didn't think this turn too much. I usually play very fast, and yeah, when you play this deck, just take your time, think the better play. This is a nice play, but I think it's not the best. The best play would have been probably just go with Animated Head, or maybe just reanimate on Griff. Attack their last card in their hand. I can still attack them. If they wanted to plus Liliana, I can just discard the Griselbrand. So yeah, going Faithless Looting here was kinda bad. Basically, Faithless Looting means that I need to find a land if I want to reanimate this Griselbrand. So yeah, here I go with Faithless Looting. I didn't find a land. I will discard Griselbrand, and now I have to unmask them to see if they have an edict effect, and go reanimate on Griselbrand, but I can't draw 7. I can also just pass the turn since I have all those discard spell in my reanimation spell in my hand. So yeah, a really bad play here, but you know, that's the beauty of recording your league. Just analyze your gameplays and see what you misplay and learn from your mistakes, basically. So I hope those mistakes I made will leave you with some good lessons. So yeah, here they can top deck Sudden Edict. I can't pay 7 life to reanimate this Griselbrand. I still have a reanimation spell, but if they go Edict, they can plus Liliana, and I will also lose Animated Dead. So yeah, take your time, decide what the best play is. Just don't go all in all the time. So yeah, here they attack, I go up to 14, yeah, I can draw 7, and they concede. So yeah, sideboarding against Pox, it's very simple. Since I saw Ancient Tomb, I should have thought about some of my opponent sideboard option. I didn't think about that too much. They do play Ancient Tomb probably for Karn, the Great Creator, so they could have many artifacts, many annoying artifacts. So probably Serenity is better than Wear and Tear. Serra Emissary is kinda bad. Yona is better to name black. You will basically lock them out. So yeah, here we have a 7 hand, but this hand is kinda bad because your opponent will, yes, we are on the draw here. I can go on discard. I have 2 reanimation spell to get Griselbrand on the field, but in game 2 and game 3, since we are playing against Pox, they probably have some graveyard interaction. So just a mulligan for better hands, for hands with sideboard cards or discard spell. Those will be better hands. So yeah, here my opponent, I think they kept 7, and yeah, I mulligan. Terrible hand. This hand, I mulligan this hand, but let's analyze this hand for a while. I have double Faithless Looting, double Griselbrand, double Entomb, 1 reanimation spell. We only play 14 lands. They are a Pox deck, so they have a Wasteland, Smallpox, him to 2 red cards like that. So yeah, having those slow hands are not very good against a discard spell deck. So yeah, that's a mulligan. Okay, this hand is kinda better. It is very weak to Leyline of the Void, but we have double Entomb, reanimation spell, and also a discard spell. This is a mulligan to 4, so yeah, this is basically a turn 1 hand. with land, Dark Ritual and Tomb Reanimate. A very nice hand, but I still lose to Leyline of the Void. But as you can see, this deck is very strong. By mulligan a lot, you can still have the turn 1 combo, so that's the beauty of this deck. But you know, with such power, a card like Leyline of the Void can ruin your day. Here I did also make a little mistake by dropping my fetch land, which was my white mana for a top deck of Wear and Tear. I should have kept my fetch land, but I thought about Opposition Agent, so I didn't want to fetch. And yeah, here they go turn 1 Chalice of the Void on 1 also, stopping my whole hand with only 1 card. Yeah, basically those 2 cards stopped my game plan, but you know, I still have some live draws here. When you face those 8 pieces, just keep playing the game. My live draws were another land, a white mana and a Wear and Tear, so I can deal with both Leyline and Chalice of the Void at the same time. And by keep playing the game, you can gain more information about your opponent deck and sideboarding. So yeah, if you win game 1, just keep playing game 2 to see what your opponent is playing. So yeah, here they tutor up a Urza Saga with Expedition map. Which is kinda fine, but it is basically a clock. Urza Saga is a fair card, but you know, after 3 turns it tutor up for a 1 mana artifact, which can be another graveyard 8 piece, which will be annoying. Here I draw another reanimation spell, which is bad. My only draws are, as I said, Wear and Tear and a white mana. The beauty of Wear and Tear is that you can fuse both the both card effects, and it will cost 3 mana in total, so you can play around Chalice of the Void on 1 and still destroy the enchantment. So that's what I was hoping for. But yeah, Urza Saga is now on 2 counters, and they can start to make tokens. Here they also play Wasteland, decided to not go for it. I was happy about that, but then my opponent goes with Smallpox, and I still had to destroy one of my land. Here I did find my white mana, but you know, Wasteland plus Urza Saga token are a very good tempo play. Wasteland on my land, start attacking with their threats. I can't do much here. But at least I can see that my opponent is also playing a currency converter. Here I draw another 1 mana spell, and with that Chalice on the Void looking at me, I had to concede the game since I had 2 more turns. I decided to concede since I couldn't go land into wear and tear anymore. So yeah, here I adjust my sideboarding, go with Serenity indeed instead of wear and tear, and I snap keep this hand since I have a Serenity and Entomb. I also have a triple Faithless Looting to dig for a reanimation spell. So this is a very nice hand. As I said, you should always mulligan for sideboard cards. My opponent saw I keep 7, so they probably thought that I had a turn 1 hand, so they mulligan very hard, looking for Leyline of the Void, so they mulligan down to 4 cards, looking for that Leyline of the Void. But that Serenity is pretty strong if they go with that line. So yeah, they kept 4 cards, which is basically only 3 cards since I have Serenity in my hand. So here we go. I tutor up for a Badland because I have triple Faithless Looting in my hand. It was a weak play against a follow-up Wasteland, but you know, you just play your game. Your opponent could not have Wasteland, so just go for your play. Here I top deck Griselbrand, which make my Faithless Looting an enabler. I already had Entomb as an enabler. I just needed a reanimation spell. But yeah, here I decided to keep my Unmask, pitch my Entomb, since I already have Griselbrand in my graveyard. And that was a good play, since my opponent also had a Chalice of the Void. So yeah, here I decided to take their Chalice, since I want to still go Faithless Looting, try to find a reanimation spell. But yeah, there's no need to go with looting since I top deck Reanimate. Here I go with Dark Ritual into Reanimate on Griselbrand, and yeah, doing this play you can draw 7 and still have 2 mana to make more plays. So that's why I went with Dark Ritual into Reanimate. So yeah, my opponent decided to concede. And let's go to the next game. Okay, here we are at the second match of the league. We are against Arkan, which is a very strong legacy player. He plays a lot of different decks, but usually they play control decks. So yeah, he's also a famous streamer on Twitch. He plays a lot of Legacy on Twitch, so if you go on their Twitch you will probably watch this match from their side view, so that could be interesting. So yeah, let's see what my hand was. Okay, this hand is not bad. Basically I have the combo with Entomb Reanimate, also Faithless Looting, since I plus Reanimate is the combo since I have Griselbrand in my hand, but I have also Griff to attack their hand. But yeah, this hand is good, but I don't have lands unfortunately. So yeah, being on the play in the blind, I think it is better to mulligan for a turn 1 hand. This hand relay too much on top decking a land, and I didn't like it. I still had Griff to disrupt my opponent's hand, but yeah, I decided to mulligan. Here I got punished with a bad 7 cards, so I have to mulligan again, down to 5. Okay, this hand is interesting. We are already down to 5 cards. This hand is a turn to Griselbrando, since I can Tootsies myself and animated edit. So yeah, I think I keep this hand. This hand would have lost against many things, like Force of Will on my animated, Wasteland on my land would have been also annoying. But yeah, once you are down to 5 cards, you have to decide to keep mediocre hands. I mean, this hand is still very good if my opponent has no interaction. But yeah, that could be sketchy. So yeah, here I am deciding if I want to drop a land or a Lotus Petal. I should have dropped the Lotus Petal probably, but I decided to drop the land. I wanted to go Tootsies on them, basically, but I didn't have a follow-up play. So yeah, here I go with Tootsies on myself. I have Animated Dead in my hand. Let's see what my opponent was playing. Marshflat into Badland, into Faithless Looting. So with those 3 cards you can read they were playing a Reanimator deck. They could still play Madness, maybe, but Marshflat. So yeah, they decided to discard Marshflat and burn the Catacombs. All black fetches. And they go with a Mask Pitching Griselbrand, so yeah, they are definitely the mirror. So yeah, this top deck of Exhum was incredibly good, since I can reanimate my Griselbrand. I decided to draw 7, try to find some more discard spell or a way to reanimate this Emissary. Here I could have gone fetch into Badland, Looting and Exhum Emissary, but then I decided to go with Archon of Cruelty, since I also had Griff and Tootsies in my hand. I wanted to have a turn 1 lethal threat on my field. I have basically 16 damage on my side of the field. So yeah, here I go with Griff plus Tootsies, take their whole combo if they had it in hand, and win in my next combat phase. So yeah, here we are against the Reanimator. Go down with all your big creatures, it's fine. Take out your Griselbrand, Archon of Cruelty. Since you don't want your opponent to go unmask yourself and reanimate your creature, you want to don't have them in your hand, basically. You just want to put them in your graveyard with Entomb. So yeah, I also side in Fairy Macabre, a very good card. It can exile your opponent creature, but it can also play around that strategy of your opponent going unmask, take your Griselbrand, and if they reanimate your Griselbrand, you can just activate Fairy Macabre and exile your own Griselbrand from your graveyard. So a very good card to have in the mirror. And I decided to drop a couple Exhume for a couple Silence. Exhume is probably the worst Reanimator spell in the mirror, since if you cast Exhume, they can respond with an Entomb, and they can also have a creature in their field. So yeah, dropping a couple Exhume is fine. Silence is a very nice card if they go with Dark Ritual lines. You can play it in response to Entomb, so they had to skip their turn, and then you can reanimate the card they put in the graveyard. If they Entomb for a creature, you can reanimate it. But if your opponent, if you go Entomb and your opponent go with Silence in the mirror, you should, I don't know, don't choose a creature and Entomb for a land, basically. Don't give your opponent the opportunity to reanimate your creature. So yeah, this hand is not bad against the Reanimator. I can go Griff, reanimate Griff. I can also go Griff, reanimate their creature if they have one in hand. I also have Faithless Looting to dig for Entomb or a creature. So yeah, I decided to keep this hand, hoping they don't have a turn 1. And they didn't have a turn 1, very nice. But they show me Underground Sea, so they probably play Show and Tell, making this Griff much stronger if they keep a hand with Show and Tell plus, I don't know, Griselbrand. Here I go with Griff, and they show me a really good hand. They have Silence, Fairy Macabre, Entomb, Unmask. So yeah, here I decided to take their Graveyard Hate card. And then I go with Faithless Looting, which is probably bad. I should have gone Reanimate on Griff here. Yeah, Reanimate on Griff was probably the best line, since they can go Entomb in their end step and still have a Faithless Looting to dig for a reanimation spell. So yeah, this is a misplay on my side of... This is a misplay from my part. Here I find Iona, but put Iona in the graveyard is kinda bad, since they can reanimate it. So yeah, here I have to unmask them, take their discard spell since I want to reanimate my Iona, but I gave my opponent so many outs. In fact, they go Entomb in my end step for Archon of Cruelty, I think, so they can have the out of Exhume. If they go Exhume, I get Iona, but they will have an Archon trigger, and I have to sacrifice Iona again. So yeah, here they go with Faithless Looting, try to dig for a reanimation spell. Dark Ritual into Animate Dead on my Iona. And yeah, that's game over, since I didn't side in Warrant here. for that animate dead. I mean, I can still make a bluff play, flashback looting, but yeah, conceded the game soon after. So yeah, here I decided to go with another Exhume on the play to maximize the chance of hitting a 7 card turn 1 hand. Dropping 1 Archon. Having a Sarah Emissary on the field is basically game over, so you don't need Archon or Griselbrand. Here I decided to keep the same end of my game 2 basically with Grief plus Reanimate, but this time I do the correct play. I go with turn 1 Grief. They also have a very nice hand but without lands, so yeah, let's take Fairy Macabre and go with Reanimate this time instead of Faithless Looting, so we can take one piece of their combo, like Reanimate. And with Grief on the field I can start to also take their life points. Here I was deciding about Dark Ritual or Reanimate, but a top deck of a fetch land would have been annoying anyway. Would have let them play Faithless Looting if they did also find a Lotus Petal. I would dead anyway with that Archon on the field. So yeah, here I draw another Faithless Looting. I go for another one. I decided to drop Grief and Looting, animate that Grief, still attack their hand, take out their combo cards. I could have take their Tootsies here, also their Dark Ritual, but yeah, I decided to go with the Tootsies, I think, since I wanted to keep my silence in my hand. Still attack for 3 damage. That's the beauty of Grief. It is a very nice card against combo because it is an unmask effect, so you can take the combo piece from your opponent's hand, disrupt their hand in that way, and then you can reanimate it and start beating them down. So that's why I play 4 Grief in this list. It is a beater and a disruptive card at the same time. So yeah, here I decided to go with flashback looting, very risky play if I find a double creature. But luckily for me, I did find the best card in my deck, which is Fairy Macabre, so my opponent basically have no outs here. I mean, they can go looting here, try to find Unmask and the Lotus Petal. But it is less likely to find them, and they concede the game. Very nice. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so here we are in the third match of the league. We are against Ozymandias 17, which is also a very good legacy player. Here I decided to keep a mediocre hand. I mean, I have a double Faithless Looting and a reanimation spell. I can reanimate Sarah Emissary in my turn 2, or turn 1 if I find a Lotus Petal with this Faithless Looting. So I am also on the draw, so if they play a control deck I can discard Emissary basically. But yeah, this hand is not bad. I decided to keep it and rely on this double Faithless Looting to find, I don't know, maybe Griselbrand or discard spells to combo off without problems. Here I draw another land and decided to go with Faithless Looting. If they wanted to daze it, it was fine. I had another one in my hand. And I find two very good cards, Archon of Cruelty and Entomb. I decided to drop Archon of Cruelty and keep Entomb, so I can go Dark Ritual and Tomb Exhume basically. Here they go with Ponder into Underground Sea, into Cabal Therapy, and they blindly choose Exhume, very good for them. They snipe my Exhume basically. But yeah, luckily for me I find another reanimation spell. So to play around one daze I decided to go with Dark Ritual into Faithless Looting. I thought my opponent was some kind of Grixis or Dimir control deck, so they could have Brazen Borrower. So I decided to go with the Looting, try to find a discard spell to deal with a possible Brazen Borrower in their hand. But I did find Griselbrand and go for Griselbrand, and I concede the game. So yeah, I didn't have any idea of what my opponent was playing, but then I remember that they tweet about Cabal Therapy in Blue-Red Delver because of the new Iconoclast card, which is basically a young Pyromancer from Brothers War. So yeah, remembering their tweet, I did the sideboard as they were on Grixis Delver. So yeah, against the Delver you basically side nothing or just do a very small sideboarding. I decided to go with a Silence to stop cards like Force of Will, Surgical Extraction, stuff like that. So yeah, here I keep a very nice 7-hand. I can unmask myself and reanimate Griselbrand. I can also go on this card, unmask them and exhume it. So yeah, here I tap deck Entomb, so I can pitch Griselbrand instead and go for the turn 1. But unfortunately they show me double interaction, so I can't go for the turn 1 here, sadly. Here I decided to take Force of Will. They still have Force of Negation, but I can Entomb in their turn, so they can't Force of Negation my Entomb. I mean, they still have Brainstorm, try to find a daze or another Force of Will. But they had to cast this Brainstorm in their upkeep, and they will basically see one less card. So yeah, let's force their play here. By casting this Entomb, they had to go with Brainstorm and try to find Force of Will or daze to stop my Entomb. And they did find Force of Will, unfortunately. So yeah, they go Force of Will, pitching Murktide, but The bright side is that they didn't find another land, so they are stuck with one land. They can't expressive iteration, but they did find another brainstorm, unfortunately. So yeah, here it is, the new card I was speaking about, Third Path Iconoclast. Basically this is a young pyromancer which costs blue-red, but it will trigger with every non-creature spell. I think a young pyromancer trigger with only instant and sorcery, if I remember well. But yeah, they were speaking about this card and saying that it is good with playing it together with Cabal Therapy, which is good because you can have it on the field, play Cabal Therapy, you will have a token, and you can flashback therapy by sacrificing the token and still have another token. So yeah, they are right about the Third Path Iconoclast plus Cabal Therapy strategy. But I don't think Delver need that stuff. The blue-red Delver is still pretty strong without Cabal Therapy. Here I fetch for a white land, since I have silence in my hand. And yeah, the top deck of Entomb is basically game over, since I can cast silence, bait there for some negation, and just combo off with Dark Ritual and Tomb Exhume. So yeah, here I decide to go all in. I don't want to give my opponent more turns to find answers for my combo. So it was time to go all in here. Here I decided to go with Griselbrand. I could also have gone with Archon of Cruelty, but I didn't want to play under Brazenbarrower, basically. So yeah, here I draw 7, and these 7 cards were really bad, honestly, but my opponent decided to concede. So let's take the win and go for the next game. Okay, this is the 4th match of the league. We are against Martyr 1207. Okay, this hand is not bad. Let's analyze this hand. I have double Unmask and Tomb and a Reanimation spell, but my only mana source is a Lotus Petal, which is bad. I can unmask them, unmask myself, and if I draw a land, I can Exhume Griselbrand. I am also on the draw, so if I draw another mana source, I can turn 1 everything. So yeah, a really good hand. I decided to keep it. My opponent goes Polluted Delta past the turn. Sadly, I draw another Griselbrand. I wish I could find a mana source here, like Dark Ritual, a land, or another Lotus Petal, but I didn't find it. So yeah, let's attack their hand with 1 Unmask. I still have another Unmask to put my Griselbrand in the graveyard if I need, or I can just use this Entomb as an enabler, basically, and still have Unmask to attack their hand more if I need. So yeah, let's go turn 1 Unmask. Let's see what my opponent is playing, gain some more information about their deck. And they show me a Doomsday hand with Consider, Force of Will and Street Wraith. So yeah, here I had to take Force of Will. And then I decided to unmask myself. I wanted to bait Adades, but then I thought that a Totsis would have been annoying, so yeah, I had to pitch this Entomb, still have a double reanimation card in my hand. So yeah, a top deck of a land would have been very good, even if my opponent top deck a Totsis. So in my end step, they decided to go with Consider. And they decided to put one card on top of their deck. Here I draw Griff. A very nice card, but yeah, I didn't drop it immediately. Since I want to protect my reanimation spell, I decided to wait one turn and try to find a land so I can cast Griff, attack their hand from and take maybe a top deck of Force of Will, so I can cast Animate Dead without problems, or Exhume. But then my opponent goes with Duress, which is fine. I still have many outs here, like Dark Ritual, Reanimate also, it is a very nice out. So yeah, here I go with Griff, pitching Exhume. Okay, they have a very good hand with Dates and Force of Will. I had to take Dates here and go all in. They can still cycle Edge of Autumn, try to find a blue card to pitch for Force of Will, and that's what they do. But they didn't find it and concede the game. Very nice. So yeah, against Doomsday, the sideboarding is very simple. Take out Serra Emissary, which is basically do nothing in this matchup. Take out also Vilis and Archon or Griselbrand, it's the same basically. Put in Iona, Chancellor of the Annex and Silence. Silence can win the game by its own. After they go Doomsday, you can silence them and they can't cast the Tassa's Oracle. Iona, name in black. If they didn't play Doomsday, they will never play it. Or after Doomsday, if you reanimate Iona, naming blue, they will not be able to cast Tassa's Oracle. So a very strong card. And yeah, Chancellor of the Annex is very good to tax their play. So yeah, here I decided to keep my hand since I have Silence and a reanimation spell. Also Faithless Looting is very good to dig for creatures. I didn't find a creature, but I did find another Silence. Silence is a very good card against the Doomsday. If they go Dark Ritual, you can Silence and they can't play Doomsday. If they put a Doomsday pile with all the cyclers, you can cast Silence in response to a cycling effect, and they won't be able to cast Tassa's Oracle. So a very good card to have against them. But yeah, they show me Relic of Progenitus, which is a very nice touch for Doomsday to play around Endurance. But yeah, as you know, it is a very good card against Reanimator also. But I keep Unmask plus Reanimate. I basically wanted to unmask them, try to snipe a Street Wraith, Reanimate one, and they indeed had a Street Wraith in their hand. So yeah, here I go, Unmask on Street Wraith, Reanimate on Street Wraith, and have a clock on the field. Here they should have probably cracked their Relic of Progenitus, but yeah, they are at 19 life. Street Wraith is a very slow clock, so they thought they probably had more time to find Doomsday. Basically, they just needed to find one Doomsday since they have Dark Ritual in their hand. But you know, Street Rate is basically our win condition, and with a double silence in my hand, I felt pretty safe. So yeah, since they have Relic of Progenitus, I decided to play lands instead of keeping them for that Faithless Looting. I don't need to cast that Faithless Looting. I basically have everything I need. I have a clock on the field and silence in my hand, so I have everything to win this matchup. With those fetch lands, opponent go down to 15, which is a multiple of 3. So my Street Rate now has only 5 more turns to kill them. They go down to 12, so 4 more turns. Here they relic themselves, probably a misclick. They wanted to relic me instead. Here there is some more fetch land action. They go down to 10, which is still 4 turns clock. So yeah, drawing lands here is very good. Since I have silence in my hand and I have Mystical Dispute, I will always play all my mana to pay for that Mystical Dispute, basically. Okay, here they crack a Relic of Progenitus to draw a card. And here they go with Dark Ritual into Doomsday. Let's stop it. I could have gone Silence on their Dark Ritual, but they still had 3 mana to cast this Doomsday. Also, Doomsday is a card that, yeah, they will make their pile, but they will also lose half of their life. So since they are at 7 life, they go down to 3 life, and my Street Rate becomes a little threat. So yeah, keep silence and let them resolve Doomsday is fine in this spot, I think. They will probably go for the same turn win with some cycling or brainstorm stuff. But yeah, I can cast silence in response of their next spell, basically. So yeah, here they made their pile. They cycle Street Rate, and in response I cast silence. So they can't play any more spell for that turn, and they concede the game since I had the Street Rate to make the lethal damage. So yeah, very nice. We are at 4-0. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so here we are in the last match of the league. I'm already happy with the result. I am at 4-0 at the moment, so we already paid the league fee, and we also gain some money back. Let's see this hand. We are on the play. This hand is kinda bad. On the play, I mean. we don't have a way to put those creatures in the graveyard. We can go on discard, we can pass the turn, draw a card, pass the turn again, go on discard, and then land Lotus Petal, Exhume, can reanimate Griselbrand. But you know, since I am on the play, I decided to mulligan and try to find a turn 1 hand or a turn 2 1. This hand is bad. I don't have lands. I mean, it can be playable, but as I said, I want to have a turn 1 or turn 2. So this is basically the same hand. Since I have to pass the turn, try to draw a land, go looting, pass the turn again, and so on. The mulligan to 5 was really bad, but the mulligan to 4 is good, since we have a creature, looting, and reanimate. With this looting I can try to find a land to cast this reanimate and have a turn 1. This is the strength of Reanimator. You can mulligan a lot and still win the game with a mulligan to 4 free cards. You can also still win the game by mulligan to 2 sometimes. Just keep hands with Entomb Reanimate. So yeah, that's the beauty of the beauty and the strength of Reanimator. So yeah, here they go with Scrubland into Totseis. I don't know, I thought they were maybe on Reanimator themselves. So here I draw 7, try to find Griff or Unmask. I Griff them, but they decided to concede and hide their deck information. So yeah, I thought they were on Reanimator, so the sideboarding was the same. Put in Iona, Chancellor of the Annex, Silence and Fairy Macabre. Drop your big creatures like some Griselbrand, Velis, Archon, and also one Exhume, which is the worst reanimation spell in the mirror. Okay, here I keep a cute hand. I have a Griff plus Silence. I can Griff, take their creature, Silence in their upkeep so they can't reanimate their creature, and animate their creature, so a very strong hand in the mirror. But my opponent goes by into Totsis. I thought, okay, it can still be Reanimator, but you usually play white sideboard or green sideboard. You don't play them both, basically, so I was kinda confused about that bio. So yeah, I decided to go with Griff anyway and gain some information about my opponent deck, and they weren't Reanimator, so yeah, my sideboard options crippled my match 2, my game 2 basically. So this Fairy Macabre is kinda useless in my hand. But you know, at least I have Silence for that endurance. Here I tap deck Dark Ritual, so I thought about hard casting that Chancellor. I also thought about casting Fairy Macabre, start to attack them, but Endurance can easily block the Fairy. Sadly, here they found another Totsis, so they can take my Silence here and still have Endurance activation up, so yeah. Very annoying. And they also had a Wish Reclaimer, so in the next turn they will have Endurance and Bojuka Bog. So I have to find something really good with this Fatalist Looting, like a Mask and a Reanimation spell. I did find Entomb, which is not bad, since it is a way to play around graveyard removal. But I also need to find Exhum to do that. But yeah, as I said, my sideboarding option crippled me in those game, since I did also drop one Exhum. So it was very unlikely to find one. So yeah, here I go all in with this flashback looting. I did find Tutsis for that Endurance, but my opponent can tutor up for a piece of the depths combo. So yeah, here they go with Thespian Stage, play Boseiju, so they can tutor up for Dark Depths and make their token in my end step. So yeah, here I go with looting, try to find Exhum and maybe a Griselbrand. But yeah, I didn't have the mana to cast Exhum and then Tomb, so this is basically game over. Here I was thinking about a top deck of Exhum, but yeah, I had to pitch 2 cards here to Fatalist Looting, so finding Exhum wasn't good anyway. So yeah, I had to concede. Okay, so we are against an Abzan depths deck. So I will adjust my sideboarding. I will bring in back all my creatures. My Exhum also, which is funnily the best card in the matchup, because it will help you to play around Endurance and Bojuka Bog together with Entomb and a creature with in your graveyard. And I drop one animated dead instead because of Boseiju. Here sadly I find really bad hands, unfortunately. I was thinking to keep this one because of that Fatalist Looting and Silence, but that wasn't the play. I decided to keep a very nice hand with a double Entomb and Exhum. So yeah, I can go land Entomb, and if I draw maybe Lotus Petal or Dark Ritual, I can go Exhum. If they go Endurance, Endurance will resolve, and I can play the second Entomb in response to Exhum. So this is a very nice hand to play around Endurance effect. But yeah, sadly my opponent did also had Lane of the Void. So yeah, they were very prepared for this matchup with Endurance, Elvish Reclaimer for Bojuka Bog, and also Leyland of the Void. Looks like they really hate this matchup, so yeah, I decided to concede this game since I had no answer for this Leyland of the Void. So yeah, good game. By the way, yeah, we ended up with a 4-1 result, which is always good, since you will gain some money back. But yeah, I hope this version of the video didn't bother you, but I wanted, since the games were very nice to analyze, I wanted to show them anyway, even with that microphone problem. So I did find this way to do that, and yeah, I hope it didn't bother you. But yeah, at least I can stop the video, give some more detailed analysis on my keep and mulligan and my game decision when I do play live leagues and comment them. I usually don't comment all my plays since I am focused on the game. So yeah, I hope this type of video was at least helpful, if not entertaining. By the way, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.